Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brendan and I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from. And today we have a very green day across the whole board of cryptocurrency. In fact, I don't think we have a single red position out of all the top 100 coins. So as we scroll through here, we can certainly see that these decentralized application and smart contract platforms like Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, and even Polygon are leading the charge. Now, Ethereum and Solana are some of the top gainers on the week, up nearly 20% or more and up about 12.5% on the day. But Bitcoin is not trailing far behind as it's up about 9.5 to 10% on the day over here. But as we scroll through this, you can certainly see that the market sentiment is changing. Almost every position is green on the day and also green on the week. Quant is up almost 45% on the week, which is just another one great to see. But as we continue to scroll through here, it's just green all across the board. And this was about due. Now, I'll talk about what I think is the cause of this. Obviously, there is a ton of really bullish news to go over here. I have a ton of tabs pulled up. We have a lot of information to talk about. We're going to be covering things like the wormhole hack, some TurboTax incentives, and also how job reports are up a lot more than we expected in the United States. Because, of course, Bitcoin is cracking that $40,000 resistance as we speak. So if this sounds exciting, make sure you stay tuned for the entire length of the video, as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. But let's start off with a little bit of the news, and then we'll get into the technical analysis and wrap this up with some more news at the end of the video. So let's talk about this wormhole hack. If you're not familiar, there was a $320 million hack on Wormhole, and this has been quite the chaotic situation. But what ended up happening is Wormhole, which I believe connects Solana with a lot of other cryptocurrencies and acts as a bridge, was actually hacked, and this hacker stole $320 million. So if you were a part of this, my condolences go out to you. But the belief here is that this was actually a white hat hacker, and at the end of the day, all of the funds were restored. And what ended up happening was Wormhole reached out to this hacker and offered him $10 million to return all of the funds, and also to receive the knowledge on how this person was able to exploit the wormhole situation. The hacker reached back out, ended up giving all the money back, took the $10 million bounty, and then told Wormhole how he was able to do this. Now, as one of my coworkers, Matt, says over at CryptNation, even blockchain technology, or this really shows that even in blockchain technology, there is still room for human error, which is 100% true. I know Vitalik, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, was also talking about how these bridges can be potentially dangerous and they're not entirely safe, as we are seeing. Now, I'm sure in hindsight we look back and say, all right, this was a very obvious thing to do if you're in this space at all, but until it is exploited, I guess no one really knows that it's there. So this just kind of is definitely raising awareness for some of these bridges. Not all of them are entirely hacker proof. You know, there definitely is a risk in using these, and we're seeing that right now. Now, does that mean that they're going to go away? Probably not. They definitely have a really solid use case, but be careful out there. If your money is not in a hard or a cold wallet, it can certainly be at risk. Now, TurboTax is offering incentives and actually even trying to allow people to refund or get their tax deposit refunds into their cryptocurrency account. Now, this is coming as a big push as cryptocurrency is starting to be really physically taxable. I know in the years prior to this one, you could get away with not paying your cryptocurrency taxes depending on how much you made. Now, if you made millions and millions of dollars in cryptocurrency off of a centralized exchange, maybe even hundreds of thousands, the odds are you're going to get taxed. But for the most part, if anybody was making into that 5-figure area of cryptocurrency, it wasn't that hard to get away with not paying your taxes because the government ultimately just didn't care that much. But as we do get cryptocurrency more regulated, there is going to start being tax incentives. These centralized exchanges like Coinbase want to make sure that everyone is paying their taxes so that the government doesn't get on their butt. And this is really just a way for the centralized exchanges and these centralized crypto companies to stay out of the government's hair, and also for a way for these individuals to. So there are going to be, I believe, more incentives like this one for people to just pay their taxes, do their fair share, and try to get rewarded for doing that. Now, let's go into some of the news as to what I think is really causing this uptick in cryptocurrency. You know, we're up almost 10% a day, or excuse me, we're up almost 10% on the day across the board. But what is really causing this? Now, the U.S. jobs report shows a gain of almost 500,000 jobs in January, despite market conditions falling. There's the belief that the traditionals markets, like the indices like NASDAQ and the S&P 500 were falling. Real estate was falling. Cryptocurrency was falling. There's all this stuff happening in the news, which I'm sure YouTube might demonetize me for talking about, but lots of stuff that's happening over in Europe and in Asia that are potential areas of conflict. There's a lot of uncertainty. But despite all of this, jobs are on the rise, and they are on the rise drastically. Now, with jobs on the rise, that is going to be a good thing for the market, and we're seeing a reflection of this in cryptocurrency. The unique thing is that NASDAQ is actually in the red today, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are pumping. For the last, I would say, like month or so, the cryptocurrency market has been following the traditional indices, but this is a really cool sign. Maybe we are going to depair from them again. I would say that cryptocurrency has been following the indices about 60 to 70% of the time. They have been following it. Yeah, I would say probably around like 60%. So it's not like they're completely paired. It certainly does its own thing quite a bit, but this is a really good thing to see. Even though NASDAQ is red, cryptocurrencies are very in the green for the moment. But also what's happening over here is that we mentioned in this previous video, overall market sentiment, the overall trend of the market has been down over here. We had this death cross happen about a month and a half ago towards the end of December, and the death cross happened about a month ago at the beginning of January, and ever since then we had continued to move downwards. We haven't even touched our moving averages in about 1 to 2 months, about 6 weeks now, and we look like we might be wanting to retest them for the first time. Now, overall, I want to see Bitcoin touch these moving averages. Volume is picking up again, which is good. But one of the things that I was actually talking about, and if you want to get more technical analysis like this and go and listen to me go into a lot deeper detail about this stuff, I definitely recommend you guys check out Crypt Nation. It's one of our groups. I'll leave a link to them in the description down below. But this was one of the things that I was talking about on the page in there actually last night. I said this is the altcoin market cap. It is bouncing off of support for the third time in the last 12 months, and also off of the 200 EMA on the 3-day chart. Most of the altcoins have been following Bitcoin, so there hasn't been a de-pairing in the market yet. But my question is if altcoins are in an uptrend and at support, can they drag Bitcoin and the entire crypto market up with it? We have to wait and see if this happens, but I'm still very interested in how this can play out. Of course, showing that this is the third time on a major support line that the altcoin market has bounced off of. So there's a good probability, like we're seeing, as I talked about in the beginning of this video, Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, a lot of those key altcoins dragging the market up and leading the way. And that's exactly what we're seeing at the time being. So if you want to get more of a deeper dive into the technical analysis, check out Crypt Nation. I'm going to leave a link to them in the description down below. At least see if it's something that you would be interested in, because that is where I cover a lot of a deeper breakdown of all my technical analysis for those people who are into that. But let's get back into the news and the general market sentiment over here. So the areas that I'm looking at on Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Certainly, I would like to see Bitcoin as a general trend approach that 50K area if I want to get more bullish on it. And so until Bitcoin starts touching some of those moving averages, I want to see volume climb. I want to see our indicators climb, and I want to see the overall price of Bitcoin and the market as a whole go back on the rise towards that $50,000 area. Now, back to the news. Bitcoin tops $40,000 for the first time in 2 weeks. This goes back to the idea that we have been in a little bit of a rut. We're not quite out of the clear yet, which is what I think people need to understand. There's definitely is more resistance above us. But this is a really good sign that Bitcoin is approaching weekly highs, multi-weekly highs, and potentially even monthly highs pretty soon here. So as Bitcoin continues to grow, as jobs continue to come back, and as tax season begins to unfold, hopefully we can see Bitcoin on the rise. I know people like to invest their money into cryptocurrency as we are at the beginning of a new year, and we just had quite the short-term little bear cycle. Now, to nobody's surprise, JP Morgan's asset management chief slams Bitcoin once again in the Maltese Falcon report. Hope I pronounced that right. But this should come to no one's surprise. JP Morgan is one of the most bipolar businesses, banks, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to cryptocurrency. They are either in love with it and giving it $1 million price predictions, or they are saying that it is rat poison, or I know Warren Buffett made that quote, but you get the point. They're either slamming it or they are praising it like a Hail Mary, and there is no in between. So this is no exception, nothing new. We have seen this happen from them all the time. Of course, as soon as they announced this, which is actually this morning, Bitcoin immediately goes on a rip shortly after this announcement of around 10%, and the entirety of the crypto market moves drastically to the upside upon seeing this news from JP Morgan. I think it's ironic. I think it also shows that people are tired of these large institutions and banks making these bearish predictions, and it's definitely ironic to say the least. Now, why would someone like JP Morgan slam Bitcoin? It's probably because the entire point of cryptocurrency is to remove the banking system as we know it and get rid of the middleman, which is the entirety of what JP Morgan does. So are they starting to see it as a threat? Probably. I think that the more that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency becomes viable, the more articles like this that we see from traditional banking and institutions and lending platforms, we're going to see more and more of these. If they don't jump on board, they're going to get left behind. I think there's going to be the people who have too big of an ego to join into cryptocurrency, and those are the people who are going to get continually angrier and also just get left behind. And the banks that do jump on board, because there are banks that are already trying to jump on board over here, are going to be the banks and the institutions that really succeed moving into the future. Now, a couple of the areas, and I want to go and it talks about this somewhere in here, but it talks about the different areas that they actually tried to slam Bitcoin on. Things like its store of value, cross-border payments, the DeFi industry, and of course, NFTs. Clearly, NFT industry is booming. That's a whole nother topic for its own video. NFT volume is at massive all-time highs, just completely blowing all of its previous records out of the water. Its cross-border payments are faster and cheaper than anything that the banks can offer. And of course, DeFi, cutting out the middlemen, is not something that they like as well. But that is going to go ahead and, for the most part, wrap us up in this video. It's great to see this bounce in cryptocurrency. The real question is this just a dead cat bounce? Are we going to go lower than this? And that's kind of where everyone's head is at right now. There's a lot of bulls up there that want to see cryptocurrency start moving up again, and they are not alone. So definitely have some other cool predictions. Again, if you guys want to join Crypt Nation, there's a link to them in the description down below. That's where I go over all the technical analysis in a deep dive and in detail, as well as a lot of these news articles, and give my personal thought on them. So hopefully you all did enjoy. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Consider checking out the links in the description. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see all of you in the next video.